I'll just start by saying that 15 years ago, I saw a short film at the Danish Film School by Lea Glob, and it was her midterm film, and it was 25 minutes long, and it was about Abby. And I think they just had met each other at that time, and it was, I think she told you it was only 2 weeks she was going to film you. And she showed this midterm film at the film school, and after that she told me, it was such an incredible film, and she told me afterwards, I think I'm going to do my graduation film about Apolonia. And I said, no way. No way. There's such a big character in Apolonia. There is such a big story about you and her. Don't use it for your film school. Keep it, keep filming, and let's see what it turns out to be. And here we are, 13 years later. Well, bravo to you, Apolonia. So first of all, I want to open the talk, Abby, by saying you didn't know that you were going to be filmed more than 2 weeks, but when you started filming with Lea, how did you expect this journey was going to be like?
Hello, and thank you for staying. And I can feel it's quite cold in here, so thank you for not leaving because it's freezing. But anyway, sorry. Well, yes, there was a lot of people knocking on the doors of this theater, and a lot of them just came with some project, whatever. Anyone was allowed to do whatever they wanted. Everybody was very loud and taking much space. And Lea was very quiet. Turns out 13 years later, she was the most talented one because the film is so great. I had no idea what to expect. I mean, she was just filming, and I think that over the years, our relationship changed, and my relationship to the camera changed as well, because from a certain moment, I actually asked her to come and film. So
what were the certain moments when you asked her to come and film?
But there's always like these phone calls with bad news and so on. And well, at the beginning it was supposed to be 2 weeks, then it was 1 year, and then every time something would happen or I would have a thought, I would call her and tell her to come. What is funny with documentary is that, okay, so we don't live in the same countries, so there's this anachronism. So she's not there when the things are happening, but it's still important to talk about them and to talk with her about these things. So it's like I didn't live my life alone for these 13 years.
You had a friend and you had a camera as your friend too, but Lea also closed the camera. She wasn't always filming you. And do you think that sort of changed your relationship, or did you tell her when to turn on the camera and turn off the camera, or how was that relationship between you?
I had no control of her process whatsoever, and it's probably a good thing because I'm very bossy, and if I was actually aware of what she was thinking or what she was doing, I would tell her what to do, and then it would have been a terrible film. So. She did her own thing. At the beginning of the film, she's very academical, like from this Danish school. So she's like this fly on the wall and maybe objectifying us and me, and having all these ideas on how to do film. Then she starts being a character herself and turns the camera towards her and uses her own voice, and then suddenly I become not a subject, not an object, but a person. And this I really appreciate about this whole process. This is also why I'm here today. The power dynamics that are questionable in this sphere of documentary, they're totally switched in this film, or they are balanced. We are both humans and sharing the struggle of life with the Canadians.
And the struggle of being a woman in arts and in film arts as well. So you shared a lot of things through these years. Sidsel, I also want to bring you in because you produced this film over many, many years. And we could be, as an executive producer and the company, we could be like the cheerleaders. But I know it's been a very long struggle and a very tough film to produce. So I want, on a personal note, to ask you, how did you keep up the mood when Lea kept on saying, "I think I need another year"?
Yes, thank you for acknowledging that. That's kind of you. You were part of the struggle, so you know. I don't really feel that was a challenge, keeping the spirits. It was a very important film. I always had the faith in Lea as a wonderful and super talented director. And I wanted to do this film with her and you. I think the challenging time was, of course, when she became sick, and we had to postpone the film. And we have 20-something collaborators that needed to be convinced that we needed the extra time, and I really felt that, you know, I wanted to give her the time that this film needed. That was very important. I didn't know if she was going to be doing another film, so that was, yeah.
And through those many conversations with Lea that you've had over the time, what do you think that was? I mean, of course, the sickness and her getting 36 operations. Guys, I'm going to tell you, she was, for a long time, we didn't know if she was going to survive. But when she got over that and we knew she was going to survive and she was going to finish the film, what did you feel constantly was sort of her main goal with this long journey, and maybe also sometimes not wanting to completely finish the journey, but what do you think was her main goal with this film?
That's a very good question. I know that she was always very ambitious to make it the best film that it could be. She's super,
Stubborn.
Yes, that too, luckily. No, but it has a lot of attention to detail, and she wanted to, it was very important to her that you could recognize yourself as a person in the film. And that was a big part of the process, that we were in dialogue constantly. Not that you were dictating anything, but you were heard. And that was very important to Lea, that what she portrayed was true and right also in your perspective.
So was the film sort of edited like in one go, or how did you edit the film?
Yes. So we started out editing in 2016. And we, for various reasons, had breaks, and some of them were just going back to figuring out, okay, we're going to have a voiceover. How do we do that? How does the voice play with the edit? And this is a new situation. We didn't know in the beginning that we were going to do a voiceover or a narration. So it was a total of a year that we were editing. So yeah.
Over some years,
over
a year.
Many years. We picture locked in 22. So
yeah.
That's.
Please, guys, if you have any questions, raise your hands, and you're welcome to ask personal questions to Appy as well. Yeah.
Yes. Would you like the microphone?
Maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe I should do it. Wait.
How's this? All right.
It's fine. Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask you about the tension between the commercial art market and the artist. This came through very clearly in the documentary. A struggle with it, maybe wanting it, and then finding it and struggling with it, and then succeeding. And then you have a market that recognizes you, but then how do you think about the market? Do they really understand you? So what do you think? Thank you.
Thank you. Very good question. Very tricky. So I don't feel that I'm having a stability now, and I don't think I ever will. This is the way it is, right? The market and so on. In the film, at one point, you don't know if it's about selling my art or selling my body. So there's some things are very personal, and I thought it was important to have them in the film, because if you don't show, even though if it puts me in a not such a good light, If you don't show these things, you're taking the side of the oppressor. So I decided to be open about how difficult the market have been or is still with me, and this is not my fault. I mean, this is how it is. I don't know.
Also, as a female artist, I mean, to break through and
yeah, female, of course, but minority or I mean, poor. Being poor is also like the precarity is the main issue. I guess that's what I'm guilty of. But I don't know how to answer like in details about the market. I mean, it is a horrible place, and but I can't live without it because I need to paint. And if I don't paint, I die. So I would rather paint than work in a coffee shop. But still trying not to compromise myself too much. It's complicated, but it's like this since the Renaissance, right? Like since we invented this whole system. In Italy, I'm at the Villa Medici, which is the castle of the Medici family, the big patrons of Botticelli, and all these huge artists that wouldn't have existed without these patrons, and they were compromising as well, unfortunately. So this is a cultural thing. Long answer, sorry.
I mean, the dream is, of course, to be able to live of painting, not maybe live richly, but just be able to live. So, Apolonia, maybe you can tell where you are today?
Today I'm very happy, especially today. I just opened my first museum show in Denmark, and that was...
In a very big museum.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It was an incredible place. It's an incredible place because it opened in '96, and it was a special museum in a less privileged area. It's supposed to be open for everyone. And I used to go there when I was with my mother when I was 8 years old, and hoping to one day show in this museum, and so I did. So that's absolutely fantastic.
And you got a new gallery where you are where you're painting your studio.
Yeah, okay, so my gallery is still this woman from Istanbul, just like me, part Albanian, part French, part Turkish, and we have like this whole mixed city, like this way of seeing the world. My new studio is Picasso's old studio. So
in
that's
Paris?
quite funny because people ask me, like, "Oh, is the spirit there? Why did you feel Picasso in these walls?" And I'm like, "Hell no!" And I spit on his grave. But it's really cute.
You are taking over Picasso's studio. I
Yes.
really like that.
Yes. Picasso is dead.
And he did abuse a couple of women, so I'm really happy that a woman moved in.
A couple of great artists.
Yeah, that's true. Any other questions? I saw some more hands there. Yes, go ahead.
Firstly, thank you for... I'm loud.
Okay, good.
Firstly, thank you for...
Well, I see my teeth moving around like they my face has changed and my nose is also getting bigger. But yes, of course, it's mortifying. I must admit that I did not have a choice. I also have to apologize because my parents filmed my conception and I shared that with you. Like, nobody's supposed to watch that. So I started my life this way with the camera in a theater, and it was probably, this is what the people say from my childhood, it was difficult to exist in this environment because I had comedians all over that was filling so much space. So I had to be loud and to accept the camera and to seek for them. So this is how it became so natural also with the process with Lea. The mortifying thing for me was the moment when she stopped filming, actually, right? Because then I had to start living my life without a camera and actually deal with my own psychosis and so on. So, so this is what's happening now.
Is there any more questions? Yes.
It's very interesting to me when you work so closely on such a personal story with the director, when it comes to the decisions around what to include. It sounds like you kind of were part of that process as well, because I think that's quite an important thing to find a balance when it is such a personal story, And yeah, so just a little bit on your collaboration in that way with the director to formulate the story and what we got to see.
So this is the end of the process. So like we talked about, like during the 13 years, I didn't watch any of the footage or whatsoever. And then at the end, when they were like about to, and this is also why they had such great producers allowing us to like go back and allowing Lea to go back on the editing and allowing me to have a voice on like how am I being represented. There's a few anecdotes, like Lea would show me a version of the film, and before she would say, "Oh, Apolonia, please don't don't be shocked. We're gonna talk about, your abortion." I mean, how can I be shocked? I mean, I experienced it. I cannot be shocked by anything. But so it was a really beautiful gesture, and I think this is how this film is actually changing its genre. I'm not, as I said before, I'm not just an object, and she doesn't just put her ideas on me and fantasies and so on. Like I could be at the end, at the editing, I saw many versions, and always I was like, well, this is what you think. This is your vision on life, but this is not mine. And so I was listened to. We're very different people, Lea and myself. As you saw in the film, there's a lot of contrast. She's a Protestant. I'm very loud, and I don't really know, yes. So, but we found a really good dynamic.
I can also share that you actually called the producers once in a while. You called Sidsel and said some things, and you called me and said some things. And so, yeah, it was a different type of collaboration with the subject than maybe normally.
But sorry.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is that life happened to us, and over the years, this is what happens with a film over such a long time. There's different cameras, and so life happened in front of all these cameras that she had, like, changing cameras. I mean, over the years. So she had. There's like these three people. Oksana, who decides not to live. Lea, who rises up from the dead, because this is like 2 minutes in the film, but it was terrible. And when she woke up from the coma, she didn't really know who she was, what we were doing, and I mean, it's so important to show that in the film, because this is also the part of being an artist. You have a body, you have a soul, and it's at risk, and it does have an impact on your art. So she survived that. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. But then I guess that in a way she also needed me to remind her of who she was, and that she was a great artist. And for instance, when she arrived to Istanbul, at that time she's been operated so many times. She couldn't walk. She couldn't walk. I think the reeducation of her brain was as big as the physical. It was very, very heavy. But then she took up the camera, and then she had focus, and she started working. And then, I don't know, it gave her so much strength to film again. So, because you cannot dissociate the artist from the arts, right? And so this is, the camera was a part of her. Being a filmmaker is what she is. So this is also how I became a part of her friend, actually. Yeah.
We have to finish, but maybe can we do one more last? Just Mira, you can do one more.
This is a little bit related to what you just said, and I think if you take that, what her need for you was, and you look at it the other way, you had many moments of despair and loss and rejection. And in the making of the film, sometimes the will not to fail on film also has something to give back to the person who is at the center of the story. So is there anything you can say about how the making of the film may have impacted your own goals, your own drives as a painter?
I learned a lot about the film because I was being a subject, and I was being, I myself paint portraits. So then I also learned about like these power dynamics and how hard it can be to be used as an allegory for ideas, like how my body could be used for somebody else's work. So I learned that from Lea by being in that position myself. So my work, my personal work as a painter is, so I paint people that I love and that I know, that I identify with, that have strong story of activism, questions of gender, many questions. But my paintings have their names as title, and we work together on the paintings. If I make I have to represent them the way they want to be represented. And that is very interesting and tricky because we are so fluid. So, and a painting takes a long time to make. So sometimes someone I could paint today will be somebody totally different a few years later. And that's also okay. And this is what I learned from the film.
Thank you so much, Apolonia and Sidsel, and thank you so much for coming, guys.